I predicted on Wednesday that Hillary Clinton would back down from her anti-gun stance after dealing with the South. Well, she has literally done just that. She has now gone to the NRA to raise funds. I called it, and she's made a defense on it, sadly. So, shall we see what that defense is?
John, according to the Sunlight Foundation and The Intercept, you're hosting a fundraiser for Secretary Clinton in Washington, along with several lobbyists who work for firms that lobby on behalf of Goldman Sachs, the NRA. Isn't this kind of fundraiser exactly the kind of thing that drives supporters to Bernie Sanders?
Well, look, I think we're trying to raise the resources that are necessary with respect to her positions. For example, there's no one who's been stronger, louder in taking on the gun lobby than Hillary Clinton. She has a record in sharp contrast to Senator Sanders, who's voted 5 times against the Brady bill, voted to provide immunity to gun owners. He's shifted to some extent. We welcome that in the course of this campaign, but she's going to take on the gun lobby, take on Wall Street with a comprehensive plan.
But aren't you afraid that it undermines her pitch on Wall Street and the gun lobby when she takes money from federal lobbyists to lobby on behalf of Wall Street and the gun lobby?
As I understand your reference to the gun lobbies, the person no longer does that, and that's a good thing for the country, because we need to beat back the gun lobby. And I think what's important is that she can stand up, as she always has, to special interests, to the people who are taking our country in the wrong direction, and she'll do that. But
so, yeah, they're vigorously trying to defend getting money from the very, very same people that are against gun control. Basically, it's interesting to watch this kind of backpedaling on it. They constantly criticize Bernie Sanders for voting against a gun control act back in 2008, where I think he had actually very good cause to do as well, in which which the bill actually said that they would sue the gun manufacturers for the selling of, for guns falling into the hands of criminals. Now, that is ridiculous. I have to agree with Bernie Sanders on that. Now, I may not like guns. I'm definitely pro-Second Amendment, but I really think that we need better gun control than we actually have. However, at the same time, how the heck can you sue or blame the gun manufacturers for who the gun sellers have sold the guns to? That was the whole reason he voted against it. And Bernie Sanders is also pretty much a supporter of the Second Amendment as much as I am. He does believe that there needs to be better control, but at the same time, he's not going around being draconian about it. Neither is Obama, to a certain extent. As far as the spectrum goes with Obama and Bernie Sanders, they're not exactly polar opposites or anything like that. But Bernie Sanders seems to be a little bit more for guns than Obama is for guns. I'm not going to argue that. However, I can't argue with Bernie Sanders' stance on it. Yet now, like I predicted, and I did call it on Wednesday, her gun control stance would suddenly start to lax now that she's moving further north. She's already dealt with it in states where gun control tended to have mattered, like Columbine and places like that, where it's actually, so she's actually been very well balanced how she has tried to handle that. However, now that stance has changed, because in the north the gun crime isn't so high. So in the states that are left over, like Florida and other states like that, they are Missouri is a state that is coming up as well. They are less gun control states there, and the people there are less for gun control. So I would say that this is a very clever political move by Hillary. Largely, she is basically taken advantage on how the people don't educate themselves on what is going on, about how people don't pay any attention to to what's really going on in politics. One of the statements you'll probably hear a lot of Hillary people say is that Hillary is the more experienced. Well, I'm not going to argue that she is probably more experienced in the White House, considering that she was the First Lady in the White House, and considering that she worked there as Secretary of State for a couple of years. However, as far as political experience goes, Bernie Sanders actually ups her by at least 38 years. No, 28 years. I got my sums wrong there. And he's done all that as an independent. So as far as experience goes, Bernie Sanders knocks it out of the ball with Hillary Clinton, and I'm not just saying that. Just look at the statistics. Going to the NRA for fundraising event literally shows the duplicity of Hillary Clinton and the kind of person that we're dealing with here. She does rely on the undereducation of the American people. She is just as culpable of enjoying the dumbing down of the American people as the GOP is. The DNC is just as culpable of that as the GOP is, and it's sad to see that. Well, the parties are no different from each other. One may have more liberal approaches to things, but at the end of the day, they're still pretty much the same establishment. They still pretty much get their marching orders from the same people. So this defense of her getting money from the NRA is pretty lackluster at that. It didn't explain anything. There was no real justification in it at all. Unfortunately, news anchors don't get a lot of time to really go into the finer details of this. So basically, the representative for the Hillary campaign can literally get away with saying almost anything, rambling on the time until they've run out of time. So that is kind of sad. Now, we do have a Democratic debate coming up. I believe it's in Miami very soon. It'd be interesting to see how they handle some of the harder questions that Hillary Clinton needs to answer, like why her husband was on the trail, why she has suddenly taken a new stance on the gun control issue, if she's taken a new stance on the gun control issue, why is she taking money from the NRA if she is literally in the past accused Bernie Sanders of being in the pockets of the NRA. But we're not going to see those questions. We're not going to see any answers to that any more or less than we are going to see the transcripts to her speeches to Wall Street. That's just not going to happen. Again, this is really just an example as to how the mass media as it stands isn't interested in the truth as it is interested in the commercial money that it gets. It doesn't pay to be a liberal network in the United States these days. It doesn't pay because the corporations are the ones that advertise on your network, and they need and of course networks love the money. An interesting twist is Rupert Murdoch has, I believe, I'm going to double check this, contributed to Hillary Clinton's campaign as well.